what we said about logical functions.
Logical functions. We have the if function, the and function. They are used to like create conditional, like conditionals for the sheet. Like if something is this, do it like this. If it is not, do it this other way. Like you gave this example, like the layman explanation. Like it's just like sending somebody a message. If they have let's say biscuit in this store, buy from there. If they don't have, you can either check from another store. That's when nested if comes in, or you can, I don't know, buy something else. So it's just like giving instruction to the computer what to do, what not to do, and what you should do if you cannot do that particular thing. I don't know if I'm making sense.
That's not what you're saying. So what about the and?
What is it?
What about the and function?
The in,
The and.
okay, and it says that like if for something to be true, everything has to be correct. Like and means all the conditions have to be met for that particular thing to be passed as true. Then the all function means if just one is correct, it can be passed as true, it can be passed as false, depending on the condition.
Okay. Uh, okay. So we stopped at the and function, and
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
said, the and function returns true only when all the conditions result true, right? So the and function we said for us to use that, we're just going to take this away for now. I'm going to come back to it. So let's say you're a teacher in a class in a school and you're trying to work on the promotional results of your students, right? So the criteria for somebody to get promoted means that in the first test score, the person must score greater than 10. That's the first CA. And in the second test, the person must score greater than 20. So these are the criteria that this person gets um promoted to the next class, right? So now using the AND function, the AND function is not going to promote whoever got greater than 10 in the first test and less than 20 in the second test. So the two conditions must be met. So the first thing we're going to do first is learn how to use the AND function alone before we nest it with something so that it's going to make more sense, right? So using the AND function, we're going to say equals to is B2 greater than, and then we're going to say is B2 greater than 10, comma, and is C2 greater than 20, right?
Yeah.
Then we'll close our brackets and enter. Now it says first, this is not greater than 10, neither is this greater than 20. So that's understandable. So let's see everything. So if we double click, it says true here. Let's see why it said true here. 15 is greater than 10 and 78. So the both conditions are met before it gave us true, right?
Yes.
So let's see why it says false here. 17 is obviously greater than 10, but 4 is not greater than 20. So that was why it gave us false here. So the AND function is very, very strict. All the conditions must be met. Is that your strict teacher in school that you don't like? Because if you make one mistake, it will say no. So even if you're just half score away from 20 or 21, the AND function will not give it to you. Right? So that's what the AND function. Eh? Can you hear me?
Very now.
So that's what the AND function is about, right? But now it doesn't
Yeah.
make so much sense It doesn't make so much sense like this, just true or false. I'm not sure you've seen any data sets where they say true or false. So imagine the lecturer or the principal say I should submit my students that are going to be promoted to the next class. Then I will now send him this data set that is saying test one, test two, true or false. Is he not going to get confused? Definitely, right? So
Yeah.
So for it to make much sense, I have to combine this AND function with something else that is going to give make more sense for us, because this AND function can only say true or false. We cannot tell you what to do if something is true. We cannot tell you something to do if it is false, like the if function, right? So for us to make sense of this, we have to now create a nested formula combining the and the if function together, right? So
Yeah.
the very first thing we are going to do is we're going to say equals to if function. So the function we're about to write in SQL is called subquery. If you've ever heard it, it's called a subquery. But in Excel, it's called a nested function. Why is it called a nested function? Because the function that is inside, that's the inner query or the inner function that you have inside, is not going to give you an answer as the audience. It's going to give that answer to the if function. Then the if function will return answer to you. I don't know if you understand. It's just like you have a messenger, right? Let's say you are married and then you have a messenger between you and your wife. So your wife says something, the messenger does what your wife says it should do, and then take the message to you. So you don't get message directly from your wife, you get from the messenger. Eh?
Okay. Is this true or false? It will not like that is a message it will not be carrying.
Yes. So you remember the if function, we tell you what to do, something is true. Tell you what to do, something is false, right?
Yeah.
So we're now going to give the if function these answers that this and function gives to us, and tell it what to do if it says true and what to do if something is false. Do you get understand?
Yeah.
So now we're going to call out the and function inside of the if function. So we're going to say and. So we're going to give it, is this B2, is it greater than 10? That's the first one. And the second one, is this C2, is it greater than 20? We're going to close our bracket. So this and function will run its thing, that's what we have here, right? And give it to the if function. Then the if function will now say, okay, what did they say I should do when it's true, and what did they say I should do when it's false? Do you understand?
Yeah.
So when it's true, when value, if value is true, what do we want it to do?
Note, I don't know.
Yes, we're going to now say promote or promoted, right? So that when we are giving this principal this result, it makes more sense to him. So he's looking at the first student. Student A scored so 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 and so in first test, second so so and so in second test, and the student is promoted. Instead of him seeing test student A test score, the next thing he's seeing true or false. He's going to get confused. So we're going to say
Yeah.
promoted. So but what if the student does not meet these two criteria? What happens?
Field.
So we can write field, right? Close our
Yeah.
bracket and enter. So if I auto fill now, this is very easy for anybody to understand.
Yes.
Even
That's
if exactly. So the and function or the or function, they don't just work on their own, because if you use them on their own, the only thing they provide to for you is just true or false. So for you
yeah.
to make sense out of them, you have to combine them with something, and most times that you're going to be combining them with anything is going to be the if function, because you want to make sense out of them. Hope that is clear.
Yes, yes.
So remember, you can give the and function as multiple conditions as possible. So it can be 20 conditions, can be 40. Just that the number of conditions that you give to it must result to true before it's going to tell you that it's true.
Yeah.
Nice. So let's move to the or function. So the or function is very similar to the and function, just that for the or function, it just needs only one condition to be true for it to say everything is true. It does not even
Yeah.
have stress, right? So if my criteria for if my criteria for promoting my student is that for the first test you score greater than 30, for the second test greater than 20, for the third test less than 30. Let's see how many people are going to get that. So inside here, we're going to say equals to the all function, and we're going to ask it, is B4 greater than 30? That's the first condition, right?
Yeah.
Then the second condition is C4 greater than 20. Then the third condition is D4 less than 30. We're going to close bracket and enter. So it says false. Why did it say false? So B4 is B4 greater than 30.
No.
C4 also is not greater than 20. And D4 is not less than 30. That's why we have false. You can see that there's no one that is even true. So the all
Yeah.
function is like, okay, everything is now false. So if I autofill, you can see I have true. This is not greater than 30. This is greater than 20. This is not less than 30. So you can see that in the second one, it's just this one that is true.
Yeah.
And it gave us true. So that's how the AND function works. So everything can be true. Both 2 can be true, 3 can be true, 1 can be true. It will return true. The only time it's going to give you false is if it finds false. So for this thing to make sense, just as we did for the if function, right? We're going sorry for the all for the AND function, we're going to do the same thing for the all function. Basically giving the if function whatever calculation we do in the AND in the all function, and it's going to give us something that makes sense, right? So let's say we are also promoting our students here and we want this data to make more sense. So what are we going to do? We want anywhere the student not get meet up to this criteria, it should say fail. Anywhere the student meet up to this criteria, we should say pass. Hmm?
Yeah. 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 Equal to,
Okay.
we're using all now, right?
Yes.
If, then all. What's the first one there? B4. B4 greater than 20.
This one is 30.
It's 30.
Mm-hmm.
Then C4 greater than 20.
Mm-hmm.
Then D4 less than 30.
Okay.
Then close the bracket.
Yes.
Then put a comma there. The first one promoted, then failed.
Nice. So that's just how you combine this and if together, or this and all together, so that it to make sense, right?
Yeah.
Alright. So we're going to move to the last one under this category, which is called the if error. The if error function. So the if error function, we say that is a bodyguard for errors. So it's a function that anytime you call it out, it knows that my job is to come and fight errors. So if I see something else that is an error, it's not going to stop it. So if it sees like that your name error or reference error or division by zero error, any type of error at all, the if error function is going to handle it for you, right? So but then it's not going to touch your calculation. It's just like you put a bodyguard in a party and you say, the party is for all boys, I don't want to see a girl here. So the bodyguard is not going to harass any boy now. All the boys will
Yeah.
just, he'll be there, but then boys will just be entering and not being harassed. The only time he's going to harass somebody is if he sees a girl there. That's the same thing the if error does. So your formula, your function, everything you're giving to it is going to work perfectly as long as it does not find error there. So if he finds error, you're also going to tell you what to do when he finds an error. Do you understand?
Yeah.
All right. So now we have this, and we want to see if we divide the column A by column B, what we're going to get. So we're now going to say equals to A1 divided by, sorry, A2 divided by B2, right? Enter. So if we were to fill, you see that we have division by zero error, value error, and also division by zero error. And it does not make any sense because it makes your data look really messy, like you did not
Yes.
clean it. So we can handle this error, right? I can decide to just call out the error function and give it what I have here. What am I talking about? So let's say here, I'll say equals to if error. So the if error just takes value. There's no part where you're telling it check for error because it knows that once I'm being called, my job is to check for error, right? So I'm giving it what I have in C2 and I'm saying check if you see error in C2. And then I'll tell you what to do in case it finds an error in C2. So let's say I'm going to tell it kick it out, right? Then I'm going to close my brackets and enter. So you can see that it did not affect 2 because 2 is not an error. But let's see what
Yes.
happened with these other ones. You can see that it has changed it to take it out. So I can change it to either text, I can even change it to numbers like, okay, if this thing doesn't work, perform this calculation instead for me, instead of giving me an error sign. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'll say perform this calculation for me instead of giving me an error sign, right? So now if I delete the value I have here, this is going to give me a reference error. Like I want to take this out because the whole essence of doing that if error is so that I don't have this. But if I delete this is automatically going to change to a reference error because there's nothing here again, right?
Yeah.
So the best way to handle this is not by performing your calculation then giving the if error the calculation to evaluate. No, perform the calculation inside of the if error the same way we just did for the and the if, where we did the and then we gave the value of the and to the if. The same thing. So you do the calculation inside of the if error, and when the calculation is done, it will now give its answer to the if error by itself, right? So the if error is now going to evaluate it and check if there's any error in it. If there's no error, it will give you the original answer. If there's error, it will give you what you want it to do if it finds an error. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So let's see the better way to go about it. So to use the if error function, I'm going to say equals to if error, right? I'm going to say A2 inside of the if error divided by this. So I can even write the sum function or the product function. All of these things I've been doing since, or any of these functions we've been writing since inside of the if error. The if error is not going to affect any calculation except it sees an error. I don't know if you grab.
So that is just like extra authentication.
Exactly. So it just comes to work. So you can put it inside, you can put all of your formulas or functions that you're writing in Excel inside of this if error, right? So it's not going to come out except it sees an error. It's not going to stop your calculation in any way except it sees an error, right? So I'm going to say A2 divided by B2. That's what I was trying to do. So what should it do if it finds an error? I can give it a text and say kick, right? We're also going to try with numbers. Close bracket and enter. You can see that it did not affect 10 divided by 5 because 10 divided by 5 is 2. That's not an error, right?
That's true.
But if we autofill, let's see. Can you see that it's affected here? Now I did not have that. I didn't go through all those process of having the division by zero error or having reference error. This way I can even fish out error very fast, right? Because if I have division by zero error and I have reference error and I have value error inside of one data set, and let's say I have over 50,000. So I have to now start searching for the different types of error that I have in my data set and what is causing them. But if I name all of them as kick or as something general, I can easily just filter my data to get that, right? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
So that's just the if error. So if I want to change this, let's say I don't want to use kick anymore, I want to perform a calculation. So if I do 10 divided by 5 and it does not work, or you do 1 plus 8 for me inside there, right? Or do 10 plus 0 something. So if I say equals to if error and I give it 10 divided by this, right?
Yeah.
So I can tell it, okay, my value if error, I can now say 1 plus 8. You can see that as I'm writing numbers, I'm not putting it in quotes.
Yes.
I'm writing it just like that. So I'm saying that if you perform A divided by B and you get an error, do 1 plus 8 for me. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes. Understand.
So if I close my brackets and enter, you can see my 2 is still not affected because we still put 10 divided by 5 for error. But by the time I autofill, let's see what happened. Can you see we have 9, 9,
Yeah.
9?
Yeah.
You know why we have 9, right?
Yes, understand.
Exactly. So that's just how the if error function works. Its job is just for it to handle error for you. You're not telling it go and handle error. It knows that once you call it out, my job is if I see error, I stop it and do what you want me to do with it. Hope that is clear.
Yes. Yes.
Alright. So that is that for this category. We still have other nested functions that we are going to learn along the line, like how to use sum and maybe average together, all of those things, right? For now, let's talk about I don't, do you have any question concerning what we just did, or we should move?
Let's move. Let's move. No questions so far.
Okay. So the next one we're going to talk about, they are called statistical functions, right? So these functions are sorry, these functions are combinations of your and your count function and your if function, combination of two functions, but then they are just one function. It's not like writing if then we wrote and. No, this one, if you write count if, is a function on its own, right? So now we already know what the count function does, and we already know that what the if function does. The count function, we said that we use it to count number of cells, right?
Yeah.
While the if function, we use it for logical operators, for logical operation.
Yeah.
So the count, when you now combine these two things together, it means that you want to count number of cells based on this particular logic. So remember we said go and count how many products we have in your data set. What
Yeah.
if I want you to count only vanilla products? How do you do that? Will you go to the data and start fishing out vanilla and then count them by yourself, right? Or I tell you
Yeah.
to go and count number of oranges we have in the data set. So we have other fruits and I tell you go and count number of oranges. So you go to the data set and start picking only oranges and start counting. So this is where the count if function comes. So we have a criteria, we have a range. So one thing I want you to know in this formula, you can write it down, is that says equals to count if, range and criteria. Criteria, range, right? You can write the formula and then write range and put an arrow and explain it this way. This way you forever remember it, trust me. Range is where you can find the criteria. Criteria is also known as the condition, right? Range is where you can find the criteria. If I say go to the data set and count number of oranges for me, is it not the fruits column you are going to go to?
Yeah.
So the criteria is what? Orange. The range is where you can find orange, right?
Where you found range is where you can find the criteria.
Yes, that's orange now.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
If I say go to if I say help me count market women, where are you going to go to?
Go to the market.
Exactly. So your condition is market women, right? This person must be a market woman. So I will not go to the church and start looking for market women when I can just easily go to the market and see those women and count them. That is exactly what this is. So range is where you can find your criteria. That's your condition. Just have that at the back of your mind. So that's for count if. Then we have count ifs. So count ifs, we can have more than one condition, right? We can have two conditions, three conditions, four conditions, right? So I can say go and count number of vanillas that were sold in the north. So I'm giving you two criteria in this condition, in this aspect. So you, first of all, it must be vanilla. Secondly, it must be from the north, right?
Yeah.
So if you see vanilla that is from the south, so if you look in between, you will see that the and function is playing a role here, because any condition you give to it must be met. We're not calling out the and function, but it's playing a role at the backyard. Because if I say go to the data set and count how many vanillas that we have that were sold in the north. So first of all, it must be vanilla. Secondly, it must be sold in the north. So if the vanilla and is not sold in the north, it will not count it, right? Are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
And if it's sold in the north and it's not vanilla, it will not count it. The only time it's going to count it is if these conditions are met. All of these conditions that we give to it are met. So we have our range one, criteria one. So your criteria one, which is your condition one, and then your range one is where you can find your first criteria, that's your condition. So if I say go and find vanilla sold in the north, if your first criteria is vanilla, your first range is going to be where you can find vanilla. That is vanilla, the ice cream column or the flavor column. Then your range two, your condition two is location, right? The north. Then your range is now going to be where can you find the north in your data set. That's maybe the location column or the region. That is just what it is. So you can have multiple conditions. You can have four, you can have five, you can have six, you can have seven. Using the count ifs, you can see that there's S at the back. But the count if is just one criteria. Do you know the difference now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that's for the very first one we have. Then we have another one, the sum if. So sum if, just as we've done for count if. For count if is
Wait,
counting. Eh?
scout is it only works in like columns.
It's only working what?
Does it only work in columns?
What do you mean column? Are you trying to
Like the range that they're referring to, is it like always like columns?
say does it work with only numbers?
Oh, like can you give me like a practical example in the like in the
We're
sheet
definitely
for this?
going to go there. We'll go to Excel.
Okay.
So count if, the count function is counting number of cells, like number of cells, right?
Yes.
So it's just counting number of cells, it's not adding anything up, it's just counting like, okay, here is one vanilla, here is two vanilla, here is three vanilla, here is four vanilla. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes.
So it's counting number of cells, but based on a particular condition. So this count function that is attached to the if function is not the one that is selecting to count only cells that contain numbers. So you can count cells that contain cells that text, as long as that's the condition you give to it. Is that clear?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Then we have sum if. First of all, the sum function is strictly for number columns. The sum function is strictly for number columns, right? So when you now combine it with the sum if, you're trying to say sum up these values based on this condition. So if I say sum up total revenue generated by the strawberry ice cream, I'm saying generate sum up the total revenue, but now I don't want to see for the entire data set. I just want to see for strawberry. That is what the sum function is about. So if you notice, in the sum function we have something called sum range. We have range, criteria, sum range. Well, let's understand. So we are going to start from the very first one, which is what? Our criteria. What is our criteria? In this question I said now, they say go and sum up revenue generated by vanilla sorry, by strawberry ice cream. What is our criteria?
Strawberry ice cream.
Nice. So what is going to be our range?
The revenue.
Our range is revenue. Can you find strawberry ice cream inside revenue?
That's the. I
Eh?
don't know what's it's not the revenue generated by strawberry. Okay, ice cream.
I'll beat you. That's why I
Not
say you
vex,
should
not
write
vex,
it down.
not
Criteria
vex.
is your condition. Your
Yeah,
range, I did not ask you some range. Your range is where you can find your criteria. So if your criteria is strawberry, your range is going to be where you can find strawberry. That is
yes.
the flavor column. Now we have a sum range. The sum range is now that range of column that you want to sum up, because I cannot sum up vanilla column or flavor column. I have to sum up in number column. So and what we were asked to sum up is the revenue, right? You're not answering me. I don't know if you're confused or you can't hear me.
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Okay. So the column that you asked to go and sum up is what?
It's revenue.
Exactly. So they said get the total revenue generated by a certain product. So that product is your condition. Where you can find that product is your range. What you want to sum up, the value you want to sum up is what you know is known as your sum range. Where are you getting the values that you want to sum up? It's from our revenue
Wait,
column.
wait first, wait first. You have to back up a little bit. It's like getting confused a bit.
Come,
Mm.
I want to show you something. So if I tell you go and sum up the units sold generated by sugar, and I did not tell you how to use the sum function, what are you going to do?
Generated by sugar.
The unit sold generated by sugar, or the total unit sold for sugar in the data set. What are you going to do?
That is the count if constant.
What?
Total units sold. Are we summing or are just counting? That is
Tell
count now.
no. How are you counting? It means that you don't understand what I'm teaching you. Forget about everything I've taught you. Yeah?
Yeah.
Pretend like I did not teach you anything. And I give you this data and I tell you, give me the total unit sold of sugar. What are you
Total
going to do?
units. Count sugar, add it up.
Shey you come here, you trace, oh, this is fresh sugar, you take it, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you write it here, 521, right? You come here again, this is another sugar, and you write it again, 1642, right? You look for the next sugar and add it up, right? So when you are done, you with all the sugar value, then you can now get the total value for me, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. But now I want to use a function that is going to give me this even faster. And the function is called a sum if function, right? And from our normal basic Excel, the sum function only takes number columns, only numeric columns.
Yeah.
So I cannot say go and sum up products. Can I give the sum function product column to go and sum up?
No, 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 no.
Exactly. So if I ask you a question like that and I say, go and sum up the total units sold by sugar, I want to use my sum if function. So I'm going to say equals to sum if. And remember we said that the sum if takes the range, the criteria, and the sum range. So first thing I'm going to do first is I'm going to write my criteria. That's how I always start. So my criteria is going to be what?
Criteria sugar. Looking for sugar.
My range is now going to be what? Where is my range?
Product.
Exactly. So the first thing is I already have my criteria, right? So my criteria is my range is going to be where I can find my criteria. So the first thing I would ask for is, so what I do is I always write it in a book. Criteria, sugar, range, this column, right? So because I have my range, I will just give it my range. This is my range, my product column. So that is my range, right?
Yes.
So my criteria is what? Sugar, right?
Yeah.
So I can just go there anywhere in the data set and pick sugar. You can either pick it or write it in quotes, sugar in quotes, right? So this is my criteria. So basically what I'm saying, what I'm telling Excel to do is that go to this data set, this column, find all the sugar value that you have for me, right? Now, we are not done because we are asked to get the total, we are asked to get the units sold. So what am I going to give the units sold? If I want to get the units sold, will I give the sum range the product column?
Wait a
Can you hear me?
hear me now. You
I
said if you
said
want to get the units sold,
if I want to get the sum of the units sold, which column will I give the sum range?
the units sold.
Do you understand what we just did?
You only took it to 18.
Sorry?
You took it halfway.
Yeah, okay, it's 81. I saw it. Do you understand what I just did?
Yes, to a very large extent.
So that is why you have, because if I'm using the count function, the count if, I don't need to give it a count range because it can count products, it can count text, it can count numbers. It's just basically counting number of cells, like
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. It's not adding up values, it's just counting cells that are filled up. Do you understand? So what I
Yeah.
can give the count if function is I can say how many vanilla products do we have? Then it will come to the product column and count how many times you can find vanilla. 1, 2, to count how many times for me. But I cannot tell the count if function and say go and count um total units sold for me. Like it's going, if I say go and count total units sold, it's just going to count number of cells that I have, like we did in our assignment.
Yes. Yes.
So that's why the count function did not come with anything like count range, because it can count text, it can count numbers, it can count anything. But this one came with something that we call sum range, because your criteria might not be number, meaning that the range is not going to be number, right?
Yeah.
So you're not going to give it any column. So if you notice that when we call out the sum if, when you call out the sum if, you see that the sum range is in square brackets. I remember what I said about square brackets.
I don't remember.
I said anywhere you see a square bracket in Excel, it means that that thing can be skipped, right?
Okay.
But in this case, for this sum range to be skipped, it means that your criteria and your range, that's these two things, must be a numerical column. So if you are skipping it, it means that it's a numerical column.
Yeah.
That is why you have sum range in the bracket. So if it's not a numerical column and you are trying to skip it, your Excel is going to start shouting.
All right.
We are going
This
to
one
check.
is
It's
this
very
one is like I'm waiting to the main part now, but I will go through this class again. I'll get it surely.
Okay. Let's just explain it finish. We'll come back to Excel.
Yeah.
So now we have the sum ifs, right? So sum ifs, as the name implies, takes more than one criteria or more than one condition. So I can say I want to see the total revenue generated by vanilla ice cream in the note. So how many criteria did I give?
So
What and what?
vanilla ice cream, then the nut.
Vanilla ice cream and what?
The nut.
Nice. So that's what it is. So it takes multiple condition for the sum ifs. Sum if one criteria, sum ifs multiple criteria, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we also have the average if and the average ifs, right? So for the average if, we just want to get the, sorry please, one second. I'm here now, sorry.
Uh,
Okay. So just like the counts and the sum, we have for the average also, right? So the average, if we use it to get the average of a specific criteria, right? So all of these things is to show you that, oh, you can get the average of a particular column, you can get based on a particular condition, right? So if I tell you go and check for the total mean of your students in class, what if I want to see for just the ones, for just the female and not the male? So what happen? You start dragging them outside and start counting them from beginning or what? So you can always get that. So that's just it. So we have average if, we have average ifs, right? And just as you have the sum range, you have the average range, because average also works for numerical column. You cannot find the mean of a text column. If I have a column that says products, I cannot find the mean of products, right? But I can find the mean of maybe the units sold, the revenue, the sales, the cost, and all of that. You understand?
yeah.
You get
They are they are related, from what
what?
I'm saying.
What did you say?
I think they are quite like similar. Once I
Yes,
get one, I get all of them.
exactly. Once you get one, especially when once you get, because the count is like very simple, right?
Yeah.
It's not complicated. But starting from the sum, that's where it gets complicated. So if you get to the sum, the average is like very easy, because the average and the sum, they are alike. Just the only difference is that one is saying average, one is saying sum. That's just what it is. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So now we have the let's just explain these two before we go to Excel. We have the correl function. I don't know if you've heard anything called correlation before now, but
Yeah.
correlation is the relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable, right? Let me explain this in very simple terms. So let's say anytime you give me ice cream, I'm happy. There's a correlation between I and ice cream. So it means
Yeah.
that ice cream is an independent variable, while me, I'm a dependent variable. So my happiness is dependent on the ice cream that you give to me. I don't know if that makes sense. You
It
know?
does. It does.
So correlation is more like measuring is like the relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable. Now there's a function that we use to check the strength of the relationship. So every relationship, even your family, your relationship, everybody wants to know how much this person loves you, or how strong this particular relationship is, right? So the same
Yeah.
thing with your Excel. Your Excel want to also know how strong this two relationship that you have, this relationship between this independent variable and the dependent variable. If you give me ice cream, how happy I am to receive this ice cream. So we now have a function that we use to calculate that correlation coefficient. So correlation coefficient is the measurement of the strength of the relationship between these two variables, right? So now we have the measurement. So when you perform this calculation between these two things and you get a value close to 1, it means that this relationship is very strong oh. So the independent variable is affecting the dependent variable positively, right? So anytime you give me ice cream, I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy. So it's a positive relationship, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you get a value close to -1, it means that there's a relationship but it's a negative one. So it's a toxic relationship, as they will say. You get red flag. So it means that
Yeah.
anytime you give me ice cream, I'm sad. So the ice
Yeah.
cream is affecting me, but it's not affecting me positively. It's affecting me negatively, right?
Yeah.
Then if you get a value that is close to 0 or 0, it means that there is no relationship. So whether or not you give me ice cream, my mood remains the same, right?
Yeah.
So ice cream is not affecting me. So that's what correlation coefficient function that's the correct function is used to calculate the strength of the relationship between two variables, how one variable is affecting the other variable. Hope that is clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright. Then we have the small and the large function. Before we spoke about the mean and the max function. The small and the large function is just like the mean and max, used to get smallest values and largest values. But the only difference is that the small function can get the second smallest value, the third smallest value, the fourth smallest value. The same thing with the large function. You can get the first, second largest value, the third largest value. You know the mean and max just gives you one answer. This is the
Yes.
smallest, this is the biggest. But using the small and large function, I can get the second smallest number, the third smallest number, right? So if you notice here, it says array. Whether you see array or you see range, they're basically telling you about the place where you have your data. That's the range of your data, right? So if I'm talking about array, and I have, let's say I have students in my class, and I say array of students, I'm basically saying class of students or range of students. I'm just saying that where you have these numbers, these values. So where you have the number, that is the array, and you have k. K means the number of time abi the position you want it to return to you. So if I give it the array or the range of data, let's say column B is where my data is and I give it column B, and I say K is 0. So where I have K and I put 0, it means I want to get the smallest number. That's the same value the main function is going to give to me, right?
Yeah.
If I put 1, it means I want to get the smallest, it means I want to get the second smallest number. If I put 2, it means I want to get the third smallest number. If I put 3, it means I want to get the third smallest number. I don't know if that is clear. Exactly. Same thing with the large function. So the large function too, if I give it k is 0, it gives me the biggest value. That's the same thing the max is going to give to me. If I give it k is 1, it gives me the next biggest number. So that's just difference between the small large function and the mean and max function. Hope we are clear about that.
Cool.
All right. So now let's move to Excel proper so that we can understand statistical functions better. Sorry, noise. My battery. Oh my God, 1 minute. Let me quickly rush downstairs and get my charger. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. No problem.
Can you still see my screen?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right, let me get my ID.
All right. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm afraid I'm hearing.
Right. So we're going to be learning using standard data sets so that I can be getting used to it. Right. So the very first one we have here is the count if. And we said that the count if function is used to count number of cells based on a specific criteria. And we have some questions here. Just going to take this out. So the very first question we have for us to understand counting, it says how many orders were gotten by customers above the age 30? So in this data set, we have the invoice number, invoice ID, the gender, the age group, category, quantity, price, revenue, payment method, and then the shopping. So now we can easily just get the total number of orders, right? Like we did in our last class. I don't know if you can still hear me.
I'm hearing you.
So we can get that. But now this question does not want us to get that. The question wants us to get, we want to see the orders that were gotten by customers above age 30. So let's say we are performing one analysis now. So we need to see the total number of orders gotten by customers above age 30. How do we do that? First of all, what is our criteria?
30. Hope 30.
Okay. So we're going to call out the count if function because we're just giving only one criteria, right?
Yeah.
So what's our range?
Age.
Nice. So our range is the age column. So we're just going to give it the age column, right? And comma, our criteria is above 30, that's greater than 30.
Yeah.
Can put this in quotes because of the greater than sign. Says we have 12 orders for customers above age 30. So let's go and count by ourselves. The data is not small. Let's be sure that we got the right thing. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You can see that's very easy. So something I would have come to my data and start looking for who is older. Oh, this person greater than 30, and then I start picking it out. I've used the count if function to get that, and it's very easy. So count if, you can see that it's not adding up the cells, right? It's just counting them. It's not adding up 20 plus 21 plus 20 plus 20 plus 66. It's just counting number of cells, meaning that if you have text in it, you can count it also. I don't know if that makes more sense.
Yes, it does.
So the next question, you are the one that is going to read it and tell me what we are going to do.
Oh my. All right. We have equal to. Okay, how many sales were made by shop A? Okay, equal to. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Equal to count if.
Mm-hmm.
Then the range we go to is it sales? Sales. Can you hear me?
Until you get it, I will not answer you.
Oh oh. How many sales were made by shop A? Shopping mall, sorry.
So what is our
Then
criteria?
criteria shop A.
I can just pick anywhere I have shop A. I like picking it from the data. In case the data is dirty, it will
Yeah.
get it. So I'm just going to close and enter. So basically, we're asking it how many times did shop A appear in this data. Forget the fact that you saw sales and you wanted to confuse you. So we're basically asking it how many times did people or shop A get recorded in our data set. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right. So let's see count ifs. Count is very easy to. So the very first question now, count if I'm going to do it, right? It says how many orders were paid with cash payment method? The very first thing I'm writing, my first condition is cash, right? I've seen one condition. And have revenue greater than 1,000. My
Greater
second
than one.
condition, greater than 1,000, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I call out my count ifs, say equals to count ifs, my criteria range one, you can see it says criteria range one, right?
Yeah.
Meaning that the first criteria I have is what? Cash, right?
Yes.
So where can I find cash? Under payment method. So I'm going to give it payment method. So what is the criteria?
First criteria is cash.
Nice, cash. Then what's my second criteria and what is the range?
Greater than 1,000.
Where can I find revenue greater than 1,000?
Revenue. That is a
Nice.
revenue.
So I'm going to give you the revenue column.
Yeah.
So what is the criteria?
Greater than 1,000.
Close bracket and enter. So what it has just done here is that it went to the data set and looked for cash that is greater than 1,000 or 1,000 that is equals to cash. Because if you notice here, we have, it says 2, right? Our answer is just 2. If you notice here, we have cash. This is cash, 300. This is another cash, 242. This is another cash, 40.
So all of
This
them
is,
are less than 1,000.
so you made sure that the only cash that I gave was, which is this is greater than 1,000, this is greater than 1,000. The both conditions must be met. So it
Yeah.
must be cash and must be greater than 1,000, right? Even if it's greater than 1,000 like it is here, but it's credit card. Do you understand now?
Yes.
So that's just what the count if is about, right? So all the conditions I give to it must be met. And it goes there to just count number of sales. It's not adding values, it's just counting how many field sales do you have that is called cash that is greater than
Yes.
1,000 in terms of revenue. So this one says, the one that is answering this, how many orders are for clothing in shop D?
Clothing and shop there are criteria.
Nice. So tell me what to do.
Also, count
Count ifs.
if says. That is if you wrote there. Count ifs. Then for our first criteria, which is clothing, which is scroll a bit. Okay, category.
Nice.
Can't we just click on the first distance, the A?
The A.
Like, can't we just click on the F to get the full column?
No, don't do that because if you click on the F, you're going to highlight even empty cells. And most times,
Oh,
in this case, it's not going to affect your calculation, but most times it will affect it. So don't do that. It's like you go to the first one and you press Control Shift down to get it.
all right. Noted, noted. All right, so we put a comma there. Then we put in closing.
Okay.
Our spelling of closing is wrong. Okay, it
I'm
doesn't
not
matter.
using it. I'm not using it. So I'm using what I have in the cell. So we're good.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so put a comma. Then for shop D, go to shopping mall for the second range. Then shop D.
Nice. Just anywhere you see shop D, you can just click it. It's just going to be referencing, except you change what is inside that place that you're referencing. But as long as it's written as shop D, you can just click it. Or
Yeah,
you can write it yourself.
I think I'd rather click it.
You can write it yourself to be safe if you want to. You can click it if you want to. Any of them works perfectly. So if you
Yeah,
enter, it says 3. Do you understand?
yeah, I do.
So we are okay with count and count if and count ifs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. So let's move to the one that wanted to scatter your head. What's that one there? So our very first, we said that the count, the sum if is to sum up values based on, is used to sum up values based on a specific criteria, right? So we're going to start with the second example for the first one. The first example will give you more explanation on that square bracket I was talking about. So let's look at the second one first. It says, what is the total revenue for the South region? So I have this data set that is giving me, is a different data set. So these are order date, region, the sales rep, the item, unit cost, the unit cost, and then the revenue. So I want to see the total revenue generated in the South region. I want to see total revenue, but it must be in the South region, right? So how do I do that? Here I'm going to say equal to sum if. So my sum if is going to take range and criteria. What's my criteria?
Criteria is
Is where?
wait. Just give
What,
me one
first of all,
second.
what is your criteria? What is your range?
There's a total revenue for the South region. Our criteria is the South.
Nice. So what's going to be our
Then
range?
range is region.
Nice. So I'm going to give you the region column.
Yeah.
So our criteria is what? South, right?
Yes.
So I'm just going to click South. So what is now going to be our sum range here? What is the main aim of using the sum function?
The revenue.
Exactly. So we want to sum up revenue, right? So that's going to be our
Yes.
sum range. So we're now going to give it the revenue column, which is G2 all the way to G48. Hope this is clear.
Yes, yes, it is.
So if you close our brackets and enter. So this is the total revenue generated just in the South region. Just in the South region. That's just what we have just done, right? So the sum range is necessary when your criteria and your range of the criteria are not numerical columns. So you need to give it a sum range because you don't expect it to go there and start counting regions or start summing up regions. It has to sum up a column that is numerical. Do you understand?
Yeah, yeah. You scroll to the left to the same place. Can I ask a question? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What if you say like find the total sales?
You should find the total sales.
Yes.
You say you should find
By
by what?
David.
You find the total tell us how to find total sales by David.
So that means David is the criteria, right?
Exactly.
Range is sales rep.
Yes.
Then what is the what's the other question there? What is the sum range?
The sum range is going to be the sum the you say find the total sales by, so it's basically revenue you're talking about because we don't have sales column. So if you said find the total revenue generated by David, Your sales column, your sum column is the revenue now. If you have a sales column, your sum range would have been the sales column.
All right, it makes sense now.
So you are the one that is going to answer the next one. It says, what is the total revenue, total unit cost for smartphone? So we have I'm sorry, that's headphones, smartphone. We want to
Criteria.
get the total unit cost. So if you want to add this smartphone we have here plus this smartphone that we have here plus every other smartphone, what is the total unit cost for that?
Okay, equal to sum if.
Mhm.
The range is it product that was there just now?
Yes, item.
That is the okay. Item is the range. Smartphone is the criteria.
So what will be the sum range?
Unit cost. That is the unit cost since we're looking for
Nice.
unit cost.
So F2 all the way to F48. Close and enter.
Nice, nice, nice.
Can see how easy it is. Abi. Maybe it was English I was speaking that was confusing you.
It's like it's making a lot of sense now.
Okay. So let's go back to this first one. Let me teach you. So I was talking about there are times when you don't need to give it a sum range. Oh, that is only possible if your criteria is a numerical column. That's why you have that sum range square bracket. It means that it can be skipped sometimes. So it says, what is the sum of revenue that exceeds 5,000? What's the criteria here?
Some of the range this is
Eh?
5,000 is the criteria.
Exactly. So where are you going to find 5,000?
Revenue.
Is that not the same revenue that you want to sum up?
Yes.
Do you need to still give it a sum range?
So,
Eh?
the sum range will not be the same revenue. Oh, I don't
That's why
understand.
I say, do you still need to give it a sum range?
No, no,
Can't
no.
it just sum up that column that you already gave to it? Let's see what we're talking about, right? So let's say I call you and I say, go to this data set and select every value that you have that is greater than 5,000. So you pick this 24,000, right? And you pick this value, this 17,500, right? By the time you are done picking, you now sum it up for me and give me the value. Will it make sense that after going to pick it out for me, the values that are greater than this 5,000, then I still send you back here to go and match up those values, add it up again?
I am.
I can hear you now.
So it doesn't really make sense.
Exactly. So now, if our criteria range and our criteria is a numerical column that we want it to sum up, there's no need to give it as a sum range. If you give it as a sum range, it's not going to stop anything. Oh. But then there's no need giving it. So if I say equals to sum if, and I say my range is my revenue, abi, that's G2
Yes.
all the way to G48. And my criteria is greater
Yes.
than 5,000, right?
Yeah.
Then I give it a sum range. Let's say I want to give it a sum range T. I'm going to say G2 all the way to G48. Can you see
Yeah, I get
that
it.
it's not really necessary?
Yes, yes, yes.
Exactly. So that's why I now said that's the reason why you have this sum range in square brackets, because it can be skipped sometimes in situations like this. So if I
Makes
close
sense.
this and enter, it works perfectly. If I take it out, it still works perfectly.
And
Do you understand what I'm saying now?
I do.
Exactly. So you already gave it a sum column and you said the revenue column and you said go and give me values that are greater than 5,000. So you basically go there and pick out all the values. Then you now send another new revenue and say, oh, I'll be comparing the values for me. It's double work now. I already
Yes.
got it. So why are you giving me this thing? That's exactly what that's the time. That's the only time where you can skip the sum range call request from Excel and it works perfectly. In every other one where you are dealing with a numeric a text column, you're going to get error values. Do you
Yeah,
understand?
yeah. Yes.
So that's for the sum if. You understand sum if, right?
Yes, yes, I do.
Let's move to sum ifs. So we said that sum ifs just like count ifs takes multiple criteria. So it can be one criteria, can be two, can be three, can be four, can be five, to the number that you want it to be. So the very
Yeah.
first question says, what is the total revenue gotten from the North region headphones? What are our criteria?
Not region, not in region, then headphone in item.
Very good. So if you say equals to sum, so what is going to be our criteria, our sum range?
Some range for the not is region.
No, our sum range is what?
Okay, some range, total revenue.
Exactly. You can see in count ifs. What that's why I want you to understand what each thing represent because now in count if the arrangement have changed. Some range is first.
Yes, yes,
So no matter how they arrange it, they put like they didn't put it in between or put it at the middle. The most important thing is that you know what is supposed to be, where it's supposed to be.
yes.
So sum range is our revenue. So it's saying, okay, this time around, give me revenue first, or give me your sum range first before you start giving me all those your conditions. Give me revenue, let me be holding it, right? Then our first criteria range is what? Any of the criteria can come first. That's another thing. So you can put not before headphones, headphones before not. It does not have a particular pattern. Do you understand? But the most important thing is that the two conditions must be met before Excel is going to add up that column for you.
So we have region,
Eh?
region from north. Let's go with north first.
So let's go B2 all the way to B48.
Yes,
So our criteria is what?
north.
Nice, not. Then for the criteria two, what are we giving it?
We're giving it headphone. We can find out an item. So D2 to D48.
Nice. And we're giving it headphone.
Yes.
Very good. So close our brackets and enter. So this is the total revenue generated by headphone in the north. So you can see that we have other headphone. You say, see headphone here now. Why did
So
you give me 1,200? Oh, this smartphone, sorry. Where did I see the headphone? This headphone now, why did it now give me only 1,250? See another headphone. But this headphone is in the south. You have another note. See note now. But why didn't he add it up? But that note is not headphone, it's showing monitor. So the two conditions must be met before it's going to. So if you give it three conditions must be met. If you give it four, must be met. Are we clear?
yeah, makes sense.
All right. So one more example before. So I'm not telling you, read it and tell me what to do.
What is the total unit cost monitors sold by Mary? We're working with monitors here and the ones sold by Mary. Those are two criteria, monitors and Mary. So let's go equal to some ifs. First of all, since it's unit cost, we take F2 to F48. Yes, then the first one have the criteria range. Like you said, it can be arranged anyhow, but let's just go with the first one there, which is monitor. I'll find that in item. So go D2 to D48.
Mm-hmm.
Then click on monitor, any monitor you see.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah. So next criteria there we have is mirror. I find that in sales rep, which is C2 to C48. Then click on mirror for the criteria.
Nice.
Close your brackets.
Hey. So that's just what the sum if. So it can be other it can give you other conditions like monitor sold by Mary in the north. You just
Yeah.
have more conditions to add to it. It's not so complicated. You just need to
Yeah.
understand what criteria is, what either sum if or sum range is or average range. So this one we're going to be really fast, right? Since we already have an idea. So for the average, it says find the average revenue for sales rep John. What are we going to do?
Average if.
Average revenue for sales rep John.
That is equal to average if now. Abi?
Exactly. Well, I didn't hear when you said it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then the range comes first, which is here our range is sales rep, which is C2 to C48.
Okay, is this 48? Mm-hmm.
Then our criteria is John. So click on John. Then we go to what was it called? Revenue. Go to revenue. It's G2 to G48.
Nice. See, very easy. So once you
Yeah,
understand sum if average if just the difference just that one is sum, one is average. That's just the difference.
yeah,
So let's see
nice.
average ifs. So it says find the average revenue for females age above 20.
Females age of 20. Okay, gender and age
Okay.
equal to average age. Then, okay, this one, the average range is first. So we go to revenue.
Nice. I'm glad that you are cracking it. Mm-hmm.
So that's two. So criteria one. Let's arrange it from the back this time. Go to age.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Then we click on 20.
Above, it says above 20.
Okay, sorry. Greater than 20. Sorry.
You can write your greater than sign, right? You can do it like this, greater than what you have in here.
Yes,
You see?
yes.
Oh no, I don't think you can do it like that because not recognize it. I beg just do it like this. It was showing black, it means that it was not refreshing it.
Okay. So we put the second criteria there, which is female. We go to gender.
Nice. Pick female, right?
Yes, click. Yeah.
So close bracket. Enter.
Nice.
That's just it. So very easy something.
Yeah.
The English is just too much, but when you start working on it, it makes more sense. So that's it for the count if, count ifs, some ifs, right? There's no any other additional talk attached to that. Just what you see. That's how it's actually used, right? So
Yeah.
let's move over to the Corel function. So we said that this function is used to get the strength of relationship between an independent variable and a dependent variable. So now you're now in a data analyst working in an advertisement company, because I'm sure you'll be asking yourself, this particular function, what is the business, right? So
Yes.
you, so you are now a data analyst working in a company, right? Not in a company anyways. And they have noticed that you are trying to analyze their data, and you want to check the effect of advertisement on the sales. So they have been running ads, and you want to know if the ads is effective, right? So that's you checking the relationship. So the ads that you are running is the independent variable, and the sales that you want to check is the dependent variable. So you want to check if the sales is dependent on the ad, right?
Yeah.
So now we want to see all the spendings that we put in our ad. So the time we spent 1 million, how much sales did we make? The time we spent 2 million, how much sales did we make? So if you notice here, when we spent 200 in advertisement, we made 1,200 gain revenue, right? When we
Yeah.
now increase it to 250, our sales increased. When we increase it to 300, our sales also increase. So it's looking like, okay, this advertisements we are placing is effective. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Now we want to check. We don't just want to be looking at it. We want to check everything. We want to compare everything and check the strength of the relationship to be sure that, okay, we are not wasting money on ads, so that we can tell our boss that I think you should put more revenue into advertisement, because it's anytime we put more money, we get more money, right? So
Yeah.
this is what the current function is used to check for, the relationship between these things. So to be able to do that, we're going to now call out this function. Very simple function. The function no like wahala. So the function takes the array one and the array two. The array one is the, can you hear me?
Yeah.
The array one is the independent variable, right? So when you say something is an independent variable, it means it's not depending on anything. So whether or not you place advert will be on its own. But when you now say something is dependent, it means that if you don't place advert, you might not make sales. So that sale now is depending on the advert, right?
Yes. Yes.
Exactly. So your first array is going to be the column that contains the independent variable. So which is our advertisement, right? So we're going to give it all the money we spent in advertisement so far. That's the first array. Then the second array is going to be the dependent variable. That's the variable we think that okay, is depending on this thing. So we're now going to check everything we have been spending so far, maybe we've been getting so far.
Yeah.
So close our bracket. Very easy. That's ended there, and enter. We got 0.9. And remember our explanation. If you get value that is close to 1, it means that there is a strong positive relationship. It means that the independent variable is affecting the dependent variable positively. So there's a relationship. It means that so every time we put in revenue, for anytime we put in more money in advertisement, we make more revenue. Okay, this is very good, right? If
Yeah.
you get a value close to 0, it means that there's no relationship. So stop wasting your money on advert. Whether or not you do advert, people are buying or people are not buying, it's not working.
Yeah.
Then -1 means that we are losing money. It's a negative relationship. There's a relationship, but anytime we make adverts, we lose sales. So anytime we put our product out there, people get angry and they decide not to buy. So it's affecting our product negatively. So that's just what
Yeah.
this function is used for. Very sweet, don't stress me function. Do you understand?
That makes sense. Lot of sense.
So we're moving over to small and large.
Is there any need to round up in that over?
To round the value.
Yes.
If you want to round it, you can round it now, but approximately is equals to 1.
Yes.
0.99 something is already 1. So you can round it if you want to. So we have the small and large function, and the small and large function, we said that it's just like our mean and max, just that this time around you can get other values, not just the biggest or the smallest. So if I want to get the biggest value, that's using the max function, the same value I'm going to get with the max function, I'm going to say equals to large, give it the array, that's my range of data. Sometimes Excel will call it array, sometimes we call it range. They're basically talking about where you have your data. So my range of data, that's my array, I'm going to give it this, and my k is going to be 0, right? That is it. Sorry, it's not 0, it's 1, sorry.
That is zero for like
It's
that's for
not, it's
small.
1. It's 1. 1 will give you the highest. So I think it's actually coordinated so that you don't make mistake. 1 highest, 2 second highest, 3 third highest. So if I want to get second largest, I'll give it the array again. And so if you've written 0 before, please correct that.
Yeah, I'm doing that now.
All right. You can see it has given me the next biggest number. This, I can get this with the max, but I can't get this with the max function. That's the difference between two of them. So I can also get for the third, I can also get for the fourth, as I also get for the fifth, the sixth biggest number. But the max function can only give me this. Do you understand the difference?
Yeah.
The same thing with the small function. The small function can give me the smallest, can give me the next smallest, and so on. So if I say equals to small and I give it my array of data and I say comma 1 close. So this is the smallest value I have. If I want to try again and see the next smallest value I have, give it my array again. And this time around, I'm going to say, comma, my k will be 2. Close, enter. You can see the next smallest number is 30. Hope that is clear.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay. So there's no problem in that one. It's just if you're trying to get. Then we have, there's one I skipped in my explanation. These ones are just very simple. These ones are just really, really simple functions. The main statistical functions are these first ones we did. The count if, average if, that they wanted to wound you. So, so we have the mode and then we have the median, right? We said that the mode is used to get the most occurring number, our normal mathematics,
Yeah.
right? Are you there?
I mean,
So mode is used to get the most occurring number, right?
yes, yes.
To get that, we're just going to use the mode function, right? I don't know if you use this one. This one says for 2007 and earlier, right? So this one, it's better to always use this one, this mode dot single stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because this one there's is always generating error sometimes. So just use this one you have in the middle. To give you the same thing. So it's just to give you the most occurring number that you have in your data. So if I give you my range of data, let's say I have a rating data, I want to know the highest rating that we got, like the most occurring rating that we got in our data set. And see that it's 4. So most people rated our company as 4 star.
Yeah.
Then for the median is used to get the middle number, as we already know from secondary school. So all these ones are just basic mathematics, just used to
Yeah.
get the middle number, right? So we call that median value, and then we give it our value. Then it's going to give us the middle number you can have. So the middle number that we have is 4. Like based on the arrangement of our data, when you count it, it will give you the middle number. Are we good?
Yeah. We're good. We're good.
So that's just it about statistical functions, right? So when we do a little bit of statistics, when we use ANOVA and all of those things, right? These functions, all of these things, you are even going to get the answer automatically because performing statistics in Excel is really easy. Excel made it in such a way that they believe that you don't like mathematics. So they helped you to do the calculation. The only thing they need you to do is know how to interpret your results. So when you get there, it's usually easy to do all these things, right? So that's it for our statistical functions, right? So when we come next time, we're going to, I don't know, do you have a question?
Uh, the O if, then
Before if,
O if.
okay.
Just run through it again, please. Walk me through it again.
So the or if is just the same thing with our and if. Do you understand and if?
I understand. And
So it's the same thing. So you know that all function, yeah, it needs only one to be, it needs only one of it to be true.
yeah,
So if I say I want for you to be promoted in my class, you must be, if I say for you to be promoted in my class, you must be a boy or you must score above 30.
yeah,
It means that if you're a boy, automatically you are promoted. If you score above 30 and you're not a boy, you're automatically promoted. So if you're a
yeah,
she-male or you're a dem or you're we or you identify as a ram and you score above 30 and you score above 30, you are promoted, right? So
yeah,
the only time you see true or the only time you see false, the only time you're most likely going to see false in the all function is if all the conditions you don't meet it. So you're not a boy and you do not score
yeah,
above 30, so you're not promoted. So that's exactly what we just did. So we said for you to be promoted is either you scored above 30 in the first test, or in the second test you scored above 15, or in the third test you scored less than 30. And this first person got false, means that he did not match any of the criteria in the all function,
yeah.
right? So now we now got true, false, true, false. So for us to make sense out of this thing, right, we now want to attach it with the if function. So when we put it inside of the if function, the if function is now going to take the result of this all. So basically, you see this thing that we have inside here. This is what the if function is going to see. This false, true,
I get it.
right? So it will now convert it and do what you want it to do if it is true and what you want it to do if it is false.
So basically, this O if is just to change the name. Basically,
Yes, it's just to change this true or false so that it makes more sense like this. Because if I'm going to give my principal, will I go with true or false?
yeah.
The same way
It
we did
makes
for
sense.
the and. Exactly. That's just what it is. If you understand and all function is just a minor thing. Just the
Yeah.
same logic.
All right. I guess it's now.
Are we good now? Any other question?
Yeah. No, no, no.
All right. So when we come next up, we're going to talk about lookup functions in our
Look
next
up. All
class.
right.
So I'll
All
try
right.
as much as possible to get your assignments ready by tomorrow. I can't promise today because I have marathon of classes that I left to go and be doing obuli. So
All right.
I'm going to get it ready by tomorrow and I'll put it in the drive.
All right. No problem. No problem. Take it easy. Rest. So.
I'll try. Today is a lot for me.
All right. Thanks.